Welcome back to our Camogie Coach webinar series. We hope that each webinar will give you, the coach, insights and practical takeaway ideas that you can bring to your own coaching practice. Our second webinar is providing children with a meaningful sporting experience with Barry Burke and Barry Milan. Both Barry Burke and Barry Milan are co-founders of the company Active Sports Coaching, where they focus on physical literacy, multi-sport coaching in schools and clubs, and providing coach education opportunities for coaches. Have your pen and paper ready and enjoy the learning.
And thanks for having us on, and I hope everybody's keeping well. This is a second webinar leading on from Colum's one a couple of weeks ago. Colum gave a lot of very insightful practical tips to take and how to incorporate fundamentals. So myself and Barry are going to be looking at how we can provide children with what we call a meaningful sporting experience. So Barry's going to talk a little bit more later on about what we classify as a meaningful sporting experience. And before he goes into that, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about general why kids play sport and what we can do to affect it, and possibly why they might drop out. So what do we view as what a meaningful experience in sport is? The classical meaningful experience might be what you can see there in the team picture, which is winning trophies, winning championships, winning matches. And for a lot of children playing camogie, that may be the case. That might be what they find as meaningful. But for an awful lot of children, there's a lot more to it than that. And the other picture can echo that a little bit, where you can see the sportsmanship, and that could possibly be between friends or between players on opposite teams. So there's a lot more to it than just the stereotypical team winning matches. Kids take a lot more out of sport than just that. So what we're going to look at first is, why do children play sport? It'll be no surprise that number one there you'll see is for fun and enjoyment. This is key. This is the number one reason why children will play sport and will keep coming back and playing sport. Our job here as camogie coaches is to make sure that our kids are enjoying their sessions, having fun while they're there, and keep them playing their game, keep them involved in camogie. And that's key. Anything else will be extras and bonuses, but if we keep them coming back, that's our number one job as coaches. Kids love to play. Sport is play. So what we want to try and make sure is that they get that sense of play when they come to our sessions. And number two is be with friends. I know Niall Corcoran mentioned this on his podcast in the Coaching Bubble. I was just listening to it the other day, and he was saying a lot of people or girls will just come to your sessions just to be with their friends. They have no interest maybe generally in the sport or even any kind of activity, but their best friend is doing it, so they're coming along. So we as coaches have to incorporate that into our session. We have to be very wary of the fact that they just want to be there to be with their friends, and how can we bring that along through what we're doing in our sessions. So certain activities, we better make sure that they're with their friends for certain activities, and then maybe for other activities we can ensure that they're with other people to try to develop new friendships and new social interactions in the group. Be like their mum and dad. So this is two sides to it. If their mum and dad play sport or have played sport or still play sport, and their children might look up to them. So their girls might look up to their mum, especially if she plays camogie, as a role model, and that might encourage them to want to play the game and keep involved in it. The second side of it is mum and dad as parents on the sideline of matches. If they can be showing good sportsmanship, good respect to coaches, respect to referees, and the children can see this creates the positive sporting environment for them and keeps them more than likely to stay involved, stay playing sports. Number four there is learn new skills. Children love learning. So they love learning, they love conquering new skills. So what we as coaches have to make sure is that our skills that we do, our activities that we do, gives them the sense of accomplishment. So they're skills that they're actually able to perform and that they actually can get better at, and they can improve. And once they have done proved that, let them know that they've improved, let them know they're getting better, and then bring them on and challenge them a little bit more. 5 links in with that a little bit, which is feeling more competent. So children play sport because they want to, if they can be more competent at the activities and the skills that we do, and that's our job as coaches is to help them feel more competent. They'll keep coming and they'll keep wanting to play. So we, again, falling back to the age-appropriate activities, making sure that what we're getting them to do, they're able to complete it. If they can complete it, that'll give them that sense of confidence where they're happy enough, they know they can do the activity, which will build the confidence and will help them want to keep coming back. So we have to make sure that that's built into our sessions so that they get that sense of confidence, which is why they play. These are all taken from, you can see the reference at the bottom of the baby, but it's from the Coaching Ireland Coaching Children course. But again, this list is numerous. There's way more to it, but we just have summarized it down to them 5. If we look then at the opposite side of it, just before we bring that side up, I just want to play this little video, which is from a movie trailer, but it might resonate with a lot of coaches there. So we'll just play this. It's only about a minute or so.
Children learn a lot about life from sports. Teamwork, discipline, and fair play. Values that can only be passed on by a kind, caring, mature head coach.
We gotta pummel them at all costs. I want you to play dirty if you have to, but don't get caught. Hit the field. Let's go. What was that?
I thought I had the shot.
You thought? You're thinking like a crazy person. Grab some bench. Hey, you just asserted a plate of humiliation. How's that feel? Get off me! Pick up that piece of trash, Tom. Tuck in your shirt. What are you doing? Have a sense of pride. In fact, why don't you take a lap? Go! Faster!
You called a group of 10-year-olds losers.
Loser!
Dad, you gotta lighten up.
You. We have fun, huh? Fun, right? Fun!
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, huh?
Okay, so again, slightly exaggerated because it is a movie, but I'm sure lots of us out there have seen coaches like that displaying certain traits like that on the sideline. And maybe there's still some of them there, hopefully not too many. But what we want to do is looking at that, is that creating a meaningful experience for the children in that environment, any of them kind of traits. So if we look at why they drop out and link that back into that video, number 1 is too serious or adult-like. So that coach was taking the children and treating them like it was an adult team. So we don't want to do that. The children are not mini adults. So what they do is they won't respond to that kind of an environment. So what we have to do is completely flip it, make sure that they're enjoying the sessions, that it's fun, and the focus is not too serious all the time. And that links in with number 2 here, which is the emphasis on winning. If we look at ourselves, who really puts the emphasis on winning when we're talking about when it comes to underage camogie matches? Generally, do the children want to win the matches? Of course they do. That's naturally, in the majority of children, they'll want to win it. But they'll go play the game, and if they don't win the game, within 5 minutes, they're chatting about something else, they're talking about something else, they've forgotten about it. Whereas we as coaches might be sitting in the car and we might overthink it, and we could be thinking about it for hours, about what we could have done or what we didn't do, or why we didn't win this game or why we didn't win that game. The children don't care. They just want to play the game, have fun, play with their friends, get involved in the activities. So again, that's just us as adults maybe putting the overemphasis on winning. Internal competition or favorites. So this could be such a simple little thing of just the coaches using the same names over and over again. So praising the same children over and over again. So the children that looks like the coach has favorites in the group. What we need to be doing is to counteract that is such a simple, make sure that all children are getting the equal amount of feedback, the equal amount of praise from the coaches. Make sure we're knowing all our names of our children that come to our group. And a great little tip is to try find out something about the children from outside the camogie session. So find out something about, their activities they might be doing, other sports they could be playing, or they could be doing shows or anything like that, and ask them about that on their way into training session. It just shows that you're showing an interest in all of your children. Pushy coaches and parents. So The pushy parents side of things could be simple, like that are the child just been forced to go to training because the parents want them to be there. So we want our children to want to come to camogie. We don't want them to be forced. We want them to be asking our parents to go, I want to go to camogie training, I want to go to camogie training. So if they're forced down, that's a bad starting point straight off. When they get there, then the pushy coaches might be trying to push them into doing something that they're not comfortable doing or they're not able to do. And that'll lead back to 5 here again, and we talked about it on why they do play sport and the low confidence and competence. So if we're pushing them to do stuff that they're just not able to do yet, maybe they haven't developed quite the same as other girls in their age group. Maybe they're completely new to camogie and only learning the skills, and we're trying to push them into doing stuff that they're not able to do yet. What this leads to is a low confidence level. They're not able to do the activities, and to counteract that is a low confidence levels. That means their confidence levels are going to be low because they're not able to complete what they're doing, and they're just going to drop out. They're just going to pack it in and give up. So we want to make sure, again, reiterating that point of making sure that all our activities are appropriate for each girl in our age group, and that the activities can be tailored to make sure that everybody gets the chance to be able to be competent at the skills. If we look at a general overarching guidelines in terms of physical activity, and we here as camogie coaches play a huge role in trying to promote physical activity amongst girls, right up through the age groups, right up to adult. So this is taken from the Children's Sports Participation and Physical Activity Study from 2 years ago, which is done through Sport Ireland and Sporting NI, Northern Ireland. So they looked at it, and we have 13% of Irish children reported meeting the physical activity guidelines. So it's a slight drop from 2010, which was 8 years previous. But again, it's worrying that these figures are dropping and not increasing. Only 17% of primary, 11% of post-primary school children meet the guidelines for physical activity. Again, these dropped down from 2010. So if we're looking at post-primary, especially it's a key age group for dropout amongst girls. So that's something that we as camogie coaches can hopefully help turn the tide on this a little bit. So if specifically looking at girls, fewer girls meet the physical activity guidelines than boys. So 9% of girls, 17% of boys. And it's evident in both primary and post-primary schools. So you can see the primary school figures is 13% of girls versus 23% of boys, and post-primary is 7% versus 14%. What can we do to change these figures? Again, it's looking at some of the stuff that we've talked about previously, about trying to make our sessions enjoyable, trying to encourage the girls to stay as much as possible. If they're having fun in our sessions, they will keep coming and hopefully start to bring some of their friends along. If we create the right environment for them, and these can all help to promote these figures and get these figures back up again. Active children reported higher levels of happiness. So if they're active, if they're involved in sport, they tend to be deemed to have higher levels of happiness. So again, similar to this, what we just talked about, if we can keep them having fun in their sessions, if they're happy, keeping them active, they'll keep coming. And I know that there was a study done recently, John Murphy on his PhD released it on the Irish Times, also about how being active can help with mental health, especially in secondary school children as well. And that study is there to have a little look at if you want. The last thing we're going to talk about before I hand over to Barry is an organization we came across a couple of years ago called I Coach Kids. Some of you might be very familiar with them. If not, look them up, look up their website, look up their YouTube channel. It's a great organization. Lots of coaching associations, national coaching associations are linked in with them, and they're very keen on promoting sport amongst children, promoting good coach education, and promoting good practice from our coaches right through a full range of sports worldwide. What we've done, we've been at a couple of their conferences, and they keep the next slide I'm going to show you something that they keep reiterating. They've kind of summarized down all their kind of key guidelines and key findings down to what they call the I Coach Kids Pledge, which is 10 things that basically help create this positive experience for children in sport. We create that positive experience, they'll keep coming. So I'm just going to quickly show you what they are, and you can have a little look through them. So the first one is be child-centered. Very simple, is make everything about the child. Okay, so we're not looking to make, coaching is not about the adults, it's not about and the coaches, it's about the children. So we have to make sure everything revolves around that. Number 2 is be holistic. So you want to make sure that we want to develop the child as a person as well. So we want to make sure that they're challenged as well as physically. We want to make sure that they're challenged psychologically. So keep them having to think about what they're doing and developing that side of stuff as well. Being inclusive. So that is, again, what we've talked about earlier on, is making sure that everything we do is able to be done by everybody. So are our sessions fully inclusive of all the people that are there? Maybe there's people that don't come to our sessions because it's not inclusive or we're not able to cater for them. So we have a little think about that. What can we do to make sure we're catering for everybody? Make it fun and safe. So fun, we've talked about loads already. Safe is the second one. We just want to make sure that they want to feel safe in that coaching environment. So that's feeling safe with the coaches, with the players around them, with the surroundings that they're in. So we as coaches have that obligation to make sure that that safe environment is there, as well as catering for the fun side of things. Prioritize the love for sport above learning sport. So again, I think Niall talked about this on his podcast, is we want to develop that love for camogie. So we want to make sure that when they come in at 6 or 7 or 8 and they're starting out in our sport, that when they get to adults, they still have that love for sport and that they're still involved. It might necessarily be as a player, it could be as you're a coach, it could be as a secretary, it could be as the child protection officer, it could be anything. So we want to make sure that anyone that comes in and starts playing camogie is still there and become lifelong participants in our sport. Focus on the foundational skills. We would put a massive emphasis on that in what we do as our company. You have to develop the basic fundamental skills in children before we can progress. So we're talking about developing the fundamental movement skills of running, jumping, throwing, catching, all that, kicking, all that kind of stuff. And if we have them building blocks in place, well, then we can start to build on the sport-specific camogie skills as we're going along. But if we can't do all the basics, we'll find it very, very hard to be able to coach them in camogie skills if we don't have these building blocks behind us. Engage parents positively. So parents kind of have a huge role to play with us. So all we want to do is keep that communication with our parent group open at all times. So we hopefully could get them involved in some role. Again, there's loads of roles that we need in this day and age outside of just the coaches. So sometimes they can be a little bit nervy about maybe not having experience to coach. Just get them involved, see them involved with the kids in the activities. And if we can engage them into it and get the parents involved, that could also lead to the children staying with us and staying playing camogie too. So plan progressive programs. We talked about this a bit earlier. So we want to challenge the kids. So as soon as they've learned the skills and we can see that they've progressed on and they've got better at them, are our programs progressive enough that we can start to develop and move them on? Okay, and so we don't want the things to get stale. We don't want the kids to get bored. We want to be able to plan our sessions so that they're challenged the whole time and they're also developing the skills of the game. So use different methods to enhance learning. So children learn in different ways. So some of them might be visual learning. Some of them might just want to be able to practice it. Some might need to be talked through a little bit more. And we as coaches need to be aware of all this. And if we are aware of the fact that children learn in many different ways, it can help us to create that environment, because we now know that we have to cater to certain learning styles differently with different children. So we might have to be wary of some people in your group. We might have to coach them one way, and other people in the group we might have to coach them a different way. And if everyone sees that the children are being coached like that and the kids can see it and we're catering for all that, again, it helps create that good environment. And the last one is use competition in a developmental way. So competition can be great. Children are naturally very competitive, a lot of them. So what we want to do is how can we use that competition in a development way? So we don't want to put the focus on just winning, and that being all. Competition can be a great way of kids learning about respect, learning how to maybe not to be winning all the activities. So what we can do is to bring competition into some of the activities that we do. So maybe they're competing against themselves to get a higher score or a better score, competing with a partner, change the partners around, change the activities around, so that everybody gets a chance maybe at getting and being competitive in the activity that you're doing, and it's not the same people that are winning it the whole time. So you, again, tailoring all the activities to the group, but that sense, bringing in that sense of the competition, again, will help children develop that sense of fair play and respect to other competitors as well. So that's me, guys. Thanks very much. I'm going to hand over to Barry now, and he's going to talk a little bit more about what exactly is a meaningful experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Bar. That was really good. So providing kids with a meaningful sporting experience. So before we move on to that, we need to ask yourself, I want you to ask yourself as a coach, what kind of coach are you? Okay. So this is a graphic from Dr. Keith Davids. Okay, he is a world-renowned academic in constraints-led approaches and ecological dynamics, kind of games-based approaches to me and you. And he is an expert on coaching as well. So he describes kind of 4 different types of coach. All right, so the first one here is the safe, certain coach. All right, and that's the kind of coach that's on autopilot all the time. A coach that's complacent. Everything is very rehearsed. A coach that's operating all the time in their comfort zone. Okay, and most coaches are probably in this area here, the safe, certain coach. But what I can tell you about this kind of coach here is that there is a good or a better or creative coach waiting to be released. Okay, we move down here then to the unsafe, certain coach. Okay, this is where we don't want to be, down here. So the unsafe, certain coach is the very controlling coach. You know, we all need some semblance of control, you know, coaching the girls. But the coach is constantly negative. The coach is constantly telling the girls, you know, what not to do. Don't do this. Don't point your hurley there. Don't put your feet there. Instead of telling the girls what they have to do. Okay, the coach that's constantly critical. You know, asking questions like, you know, what was that? Or what are you doing? Okay, tell the girls what they need to do in a positive way. A characteristic of the unsafe, certain coach would be limited participation. Whether it's you know, 5 or 6 girls lined up behind the cone waiting to use a ball. Okay, the girls come down to our camogie clubs to play ball, not to wait around first. Or the coach that might have a 10v10 game, a big game at that, where some kids will just dominate it, and there's limited participation for the girls. Move over here then to the unsafe, certain coach, where we certainly don't want to be. The dangerous coach, or the unclear coach, where the girls are anxious coming down. You know, we want our coaching sessions to be the best part of their week. We want the girls to look forward to coming down. And they're not going to come down if they're constantly being anxious or there's a fear there. And a real characteristic of that unsafe, uncertain coach is the coach that's obsessed with winning. There's no chance of creativity with that obsessive coach that always wants to win. The girls are afraid to make a mistake, okay, and become anxious. So that's not what we want. What we want to be, and certainly what we should be striving to be, is the top one here, the top right, the safe, uncertain coach. A coach that will explore, that will challenge, that will embrace the challenge. A coach that will be innovative. I certainly don't proclaim to be an innovative coach, but I tell you, I try as best I can to be the innovative coach. You know, how do we keep the girls coming down week after week? You know, Barry mentioned earlier on about why kids play and why they don't play, right? And if we're not willing to challenge ourselves as coaches, well then girls will stop coming down. Okay. So what is a meaningful experience? Well, I'm lucky enough at the moment to have a role with Mary I in Limerick, lecturing with the PE department. And when it came to physical education, the teacher study up there, I came across the 6 features of meaningful PE. Now, we've all been on courses where you know, we talk about the role of the coach, whether it was a camogie course or a GA course, whether it's a soccer one or a rugby one. You know, we talk a lot about the role of the coach, you know, the build rapport and make decisions and provide feedback and those kind of things. And I just came across this and I felt it was a better way of describing the coaching role. And there's 6 features. Okay, so the social interaction, Barry mentioned earlier on, kids come down to make friends. Appropriate challenge. So if we're not providing an appropriate challenge, will the girls keep coming back down? Developing motor competence. Colin did a great webinar on that at the last time round. Fun, of course. Okay, and then delight and personally relevant learning. So I'm going to go through them with you. So social interaction is the first one here. Okay, and social interaction is teamwork, and sharing positive experiences and shared positive participation with others. You know, social interaction is the essence of the GAA. They're there to make friends, as we spoke about. There to interact with other children. Okay, the GAA club, our Camogie club, is a place for lifelong learning and social interaction. You think of the great player. Our job as coaches, you know, is to try and coach the girls that will go on and stay in that club forever, hopefully. That girl might go on and be the PRO. That girl might go on and be the chairperson. Okay, she might just grow up to be a supporter of the club, play into adulthood, play into social hurling. Okay, you know, we're not there to coach to become a Beth Carton or a Caught Van. All right, we're super proud of them if that does happen. Okay, but you know, they're the very elite. Okay, most of us will go on and what we want is to go on and be involved in the club into adulthood. Or if you're like me, play very badly when you're almost 40 with my club. I'm still trying to play. Okay, but I got that desire to keep playing through social interaction. Okay, not a desire to play for tip. Okay, it was to keep playing because I love the game and I love the experiences of being part of a GAA club. Okay. I came across this quote recently, right? Education is not filling a bucket, but it's lighting a fire, from Yeats. Okay, how do we light that fire? That's the question we must ask ourselves. Okay, so we must provide appropriate challenge. Not too easy where the girls get bored, not too hard where the girls can't do it, okay, and they'll be discouraged and their motivation decreases. Okay, and I think a way to do that is a games-based approach. I'm a big believer in it. I think whatever you do as a coach, whatever skill you're working on, try and have some sort of decision-making in your game or your drill or whatever you want to call it. If you think back to maybe drills that you would have done, you know, we kind of tell the girls where to hit the ball, where to run and who to pass it all the time. Try and get them to make some sort of decision. Okay, be creative. If you're going to provide an appropriate challenge, you need to be creative as a coach. And if we're going to create creative players, that's how we do it. Take chances yourself. Think back to the safe, uncertain coach, the coach is willing to try things. All right, and if you're going to provide an appropriate challenge for the children, okay, we must try things ourselves. Okay? Not be afraid to make a mistake. Okay, if you as a coach accept that you're going to make a mistake and learn from them, you'll be the better coach, and you'll enjoy coaching a lot more. I can tell you right now that my favorite part of coaching boys and girls is coming up with a game or adapting a game or an exercise or a drill and then see if it works in training. All right. Sometimes it works great. Sometimes the players take ownership of it and take it in a complete different direction. And sometimes it doesn't work at all and it's a disaster. But that's okay because you learn and we can try and change it and improve it for next week. A book I read recently during the last lockdown was called Creating Innovators. And Dr. Robert Sternberg spoke about creativity. And he said that the problem is that sometimes we as in coaches or teachers, we treat creativity as a bad habit. And like any habit, okay, creativity, it can be encouraged or discouraged. And we must encourage creativity. The girls must be encouraged to try things and express themselves. Okay, and not be afraid of retribution from the sideline, and not be like the coach in the video that Barry showed you. Motor competence. Okay, and I won't spend too long on this. Colm did an excellent webinar recently on this, so we won't say too long. But you know, the girls must learn and develop the physical skills necessary to play. Okay, and it's important for a number of reasons. Okay, fundamental movement skills are life skills. Okay, they're important for future sports participation. They're important for the perception of themselves. You know, if we can't catch or pass, or run properly, hop or skip or jump properly, okay, it's going to be very hard to coach camogie, as Barry mentioned earlier on. Okay, and if they don't have those skills, it demotivates them, and they think, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. I won't be able to do that. Yesterday, in my class up in Mary I, such as it was an online class. We were discussing fundamental movement skills and weight status, and there is an inverse relationship between them. So unfortunately, we are on course, I think, by 2030 to be the most obese nation in Europe. Okay, 1 in 4 of our children are obese or overweight, and that's from a Growing Up in Ireland report. And I guarantee you, a lot of those kids, okay, who are overweight, have poor fundamental movement skills. Again, there's a real demotivating factor there in not having motor competence. So it's up to us as coaches to try and improve the girls' motor competence. And the key is combining the camogie skills with those. Fun. I mean, fun is crucial, obviously. We must, you know, fun is activities that hold immediate enjoyment. Okay, we have to make kids to want to participate. Okay, not force them down to play, but make them want to come down and play, if you know what I mean. And fun should be the vehicle for learning. Okay, as a coach, you know, we shouldn't accept that fun is the be all and end all. And what I mean by that is that if we see the girls having fun, we as coaches shouldn't go, right, job done. Okay, the kids must learn something, but we try and use fun as a vehicle for that learning. And again, this comes back to creativity again. How do we do that? Delight then. So what is this? Right? It's a deeper sense of achievement. Okay, and the coach's role is crucial here. You know, praising, providing that relevant feedback. So you know, not just saying well done, or what I'm guilty of, right? Saying good job. Well, tell them what they are doing well. You know, we have to spot it, whether it's scoring a goal or a point, or it could be doing a pickup for the first time, or putting their feet in the right place, something, you know, telling them what they're doing really well. Okay, and your role is crucial in that. Okay, and then finally, the personally relevant learning. Okay, or making it ensuring personally relevant learning. The why. Why are we doing this? Okay, what can we do? What can we do different? How can we be better? Okay, and reflection. So reflection is often spoken about in coach education terms, and rightly so. And we have, if you look up reflection, you'll come across Gibbs' cycle there in the graphic. All right, and if you're not reflecting on your practice, on your coaching, then you're not planning. It's simple as that. So important we reflect in action and reflect on action. So what I mean by reflecting in action is that reflection in action is kind of the live reflection, the reflection when coach training is going on. So are we providing that appropriate challenge? Are the girls enjoying this? Okay, are they having fun? Are they able to do this? I've been able to go, right, I need to change this. Reflection on action then is kind of after the event, whether that's you as a coach personally reflecting, or you as a coaching group reflecting after a session. When we reflect, guys, it's hugely important that we look back on what went well too. Okay, so when we think of criticism, we think bad. Okay, criticism is a two-way street, right? A critical analysis of your session reflects on, yeah, what you need to do better, but it's also important to reflect on what went well. You know, it's good for yourself to see what you're doing well. Okay, it's good to see that, okay, the girls enjoyed this, I'm going to keep doing that, or something like that. Another thing about reflection and self-reflection is always not the most accurate. Okay, so we might just miss something or even refuse to reflect on it. We might miss what we're doing well too. We might think that was a disaster. But if you're, if you think back, actually, do you know what? I did a few things right. So what I'd recommend to you is to video yourself coaching once or twice a year, because the camera doesn't lie, and you can look at your practice and you will see things that are not going well, but you will also see things that you're doing well. And if you're that coach that videos yourself, you will see things that you're doing really well, and you will feel better about yourself. Okay. One of my favorite quotes from an old lecturer of mine, Dr. Martin Thomas. Okay. Winning isn't about results or silverware. It's keeping the girls coming back week after week and season after season. That's winning. We go back to the unsafe, uncertain coach, the coach that's obsessed with winning. Okay. Think about wanting to develop a creative player. Okay. If you're that coach that's obsessed with winning, right, the girls will be afraid to make a mistake on the pitch. They'll be afraid to express themselves. Okay. And then no decisions will be made on the pitch. Okay. And playing becomes unenjoyable. Okay. They become afraid to make a mistake, and that's the total opposite of what we want. Okay. So coaches, if your girls are coming back every week to your session, you're winning. Trust me. To conclude there, so as a coach, right, create excitement and challenge. Okay, coach for enjoyment. Okay, cultivate skill development and basic skill development in your players. Build character and confidence in those you coach. Okay, and let your players play. Okay, if the girls want to do cartwheels or handstands, let them off. Let them play. Yes, they must learn, and we must use fun as a vehicle. Let them play. Okay. This is just a bit about ourselves and our company, myself and Barry's company. Okay, we're called Active Sports Coaching. So what we do is we work off a multi-sport approach. So we work in primary schools and set up after-school clubs, and we teach fundamental movement skills through a games-based approach and through multi-sports. All right. We provide coach education services, fundamental movement skill programs, and that's our Twitter handle there at Coaching Active. Just some coaching resources that I've always found useful. So the lads in Coaching the Game, they have a couple of books out, podcasts, they do webinars, and they're really excellent. Colm Nally has a couple of great books. He's brilliant on Twitter. He has great content up there. Barry mentioned I Coach Kids. They're well worth a follow. The GAALearning portal is always really good for info. Daily Sports Science then is an excellent resource. The Dublin GA webinar series coming up, I think it's starting pretty soon, have some great speakers. And then if you want a good coaching podcast, the Coach Bubble have some fascinating guests. And finally, for me, just a couple of books that I've read in the past year, mostly during the last lockdown. So Coaching Better Every Season from Wade Gilbert. The Score Takes Care of Itself, Bill Walsh and that famous 49ers team. And The Barcelona Way, it was a really excellent book about creating cultures. And then kind of books that not necessarily about sport, Black Box Thinking from Matthew Said, and then Creating Innovators is a book I'd highly recommend. So that's it from me, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching our Camogie Coach webinar series, and we hope that you have got some insights and practical takeaway ideas that you can bring to your own coaching practice. Our next webinar, Performance Analysis with Thomas Mount, is on Thursday the 12th of November. Until then, keep learning.